Hello, I'm Frank Caruso, producer of Oregon Life, and welcome to a brand new episode. In this episode, I was reminded of the importance of sharing your history, sharing your personal stories. You will see in a moment Lois sharing her story. And if you do have a story, share it with a loved one, a friend, a neighbor, a colleague. Uh, you never know what will come out of that, but it reminded me Lois reminded me, I should say, if you care about someone, if you love someone, tell them, make a call, show up. Uh, Lois was a joy to be with and talk to, and we had loads of laughs. Actually, she made me laugh quite often, and I appreciate that because it's good to laugh. Enjoy this episode of Oregon Life.
Hello there, I'm Lois Hagemann. I was asked to give a little report of my life. I want to tell you I was born in 1934 in Leeds Township, which is a little north of DeForest. I was born in a farmhouse. It was a terrible snowstorm that night, but they did get someone to help. I was the oldest of four in our family. We had back in those days, it was a small type operation. My dad had dairy and some pigs, and at that time, farmers had a few acres of tobacco. That was the mortgage lifter, and besides, they had family kids to help. Then I went to school in a one-room schoolhouse, and the first teacher I remember was her first year out of county normal. That meant she only had 2 years of education to teach. But back in that day, first graders weren't doing computers like today. So we progressed, and then I went to DeForest High School. Where our school district was, there was County Highway 60 that divided. The other three went to Poinet, and I went to DeForest. Being I was the oldest in the family, it was kind of scary to me. One of the things that happened, our school bus back in that day, when I started in 48, was red, white, and blue. As a child, you're always taught, do not walk in front of vehicles. So I walked in the back of the school bus to come around and get in. Well, that startled the driver, and he said, from now on, you walk in front of the bus when you get on and when you get off the bus. I enjoyed my years in high school. Being out in the country, I did not participate in a lot of extra activities. Forensics was one of my great things. I wrote many speeches and advanced up through the different classifications. And I guess that about tells of my high school and at that age. We did not have indoor plumbing. We had what you call an outhouse. Some outhouses had 2 holes and some had a small, tiny hole, smaller, I should say tiny, for children. And we used that summer, and then in the winter time, we had what you call a pop. They were enamel, and they could have a cover if you wanted it on. And someone had to take that down, in our instance, down the steps of the stairs and out to the outhouse and empty it. I'll never forget that. One other thing from my childhood that I remember, we did not have electricity. We had a what was considered then a real good Aladdin lamp that sat on our kitchen table, and that is what we did our schoolwork by. When we finally got electricity, one Christmas my mother had gotten some oversized lights. We sat in I have two sisters and a brother. We sat around and just looked at that Christmas tree with those lights on, because before then, if we were very careful, we could put some short candles in some little clip holders on it. And I most appreciate every convenience I have today. Okay, and now I'm just going to little talk about what happened after I graduated from divorced high school in the class of 1952. I went to Madison to work. I lived in a rooming house. I worked at motor vehicle. The first year or so was files. They had all kinds of your information, your title, your anything that pertained. Then they were switching over to the new modern of computerized, and I became a key punch operator. Now, if you know what that is, we had a machine, and when you hit a key, that poked a hole in what you were, word you wanted to be. And I remember one time we were told we should use some abbreviations, and I was doing funeral home. I got to the end of the line and I just punched FUN for funeral. Well, it came out fun. I sure had to do that card over with a different abbreviation. And so I enjoyed that. It was kind of like on the cutting edge. And then my friend and I, we went to Turner Hall. This is an era when polka dancing was our form of entertainment. There was many different dance halls around the Madison area, but this friend and I, she got me started to go to Turner's. And while I was at Turner Hall, I met my husband, Ken. Well, after many dances, movies, once in a while a music thing, but that wasn't always the most popular one, but we made it, and then we got married. And then when we got married, he was working in a partnership with his father, and he had the most wonderful stepmother, Lucy. And she was very beloved to him. And we lived there. Then I moved in the house, and they had bought a house in Belleville. And when I look at the way they're decorating walls and such in some homes today, some wallpaper's coming back. But when I moved in that house in 1956, my mother-in-law had every room with the wildest flowers and wallpaper you could imagine. So it took us several years to get the plaster off and drywall up and get it painted. And sometimes we found square headed nails. So that means it was a old house. After we got married and moved down here on Rome Corners Road, our mail address was Brooklyn, but really we were 3 miles from Oregon or Brooklyn. And my in-laws had this farm, and my husband was in partnership with them. And then when we got married, we moved to the farm. As the farming went on, we knew that would not be sufficient financially. So we were married in September of 56, and in the spring of 57, my husband bought a school bus, and that was the start of our school busing days. My husband drove morning and afternoon and many, many extra trips. I drove 33 years. I only did extra trips when it was necessary that somebody do it. And then we got a small 16-passenger bus, and we sold one of the big buses, and I drove that. And I so enjoyed those special eds. Driving the bus, many good memories for both Ken and me. One family Kenny had, he had the mother, the daughter, and the grandchild on his bus. And that mother said, when the little one said, "I don't know about riding the bus going to school," she said, "You're going to have a wonderful bus driver. He was mine." And the little girl was surprised. And we had a couple of double families, but that one was 3 generation. And I really felt bad when I had to quit, but Ken had gotten dementia and some other health problems, and I had to stay home and take care of him. So we enjoyed it. One thing that if any of the kids that rode on bus 6 going to Wisconsin Rapids with Coach DeBrew as their cross-country coach, Ken had gotten a new bus. Maybe drove it 2 weeks, 3 at the most, on his route at home, and was taking the cross-country team to Wisconsin Rapids. And on the way up, a turkey hit the windshield. And then he went into Wisconsin Rapids to make sure he could continue. But to this day, when we see anything of Coach DeBrew, the first thing that comes to speaking is about the turkey hitting the windshield. So if he's watching this at all, here's to you, Coach. I still have the picture.